Hi, everyone. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. It was great to be invited because I got to see a lot of people. I knew they were going to be here, and I met them randomly in my previous life in New York. I actually know Dr. Loizou. We're not related, but we were classmates with his son. So, and some previous colleagues again in the audience. So, again, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm presenting here today with not my academic affiliations, but rather with my industry ones. So I've been working at Intelligencia for over a year now. I'm a customer success associate, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we do and how we use artificial intelligence and data science in improving healthcare. So the goal for today is to tell you who we are, what we do, and how we do it. I guess a lot of us are here today because of the technological and scientific advancements that came through healthcare. People daily take antibiotics, insulin, are treated for chronic diseases, and so it goes without saying that drug development positively affects the life of all of us. And because this industry is built in such a way, delays in bringing such therapies to patients and to the market is a loss for all of us. And I put some numbers here just to point out how this cycle of healthcare is built. Only 1 out of 10 clinical assets right now will actually get to the market. So it's a very inefficient process. And it takes over 10 years for drugs to either get to patients or get approved. But I think a lot of you have heard about this in the era of COVID and how we're all fighting to get the vaccines out there. This is a process that normally takes a really long time. In addition to the time, and what concerns a lot of people, is the cost. So for the annual cost alone of clinical drugs, we're looking at $200 billion being spent. And so what we're interested in doing at Intelligencia is, as a company that works at the heart of life sciences and artificial intelligence, is to transform the drug development industry and help bring new therapies to patients faster and more efficiently. And we don't do this alone. We have a lot of collaborators outside in the pharmaceutical industry, as well as in big research institutes such as Memorial Sloan Kettering at NYU. I put some of them here just to show you the breadth of the collaborators we have. Some of them are in big pharmaceutical companies, as I said, as GSK, so with expertise in clinical development. Alexia, I should mention, which, by the way, she's also from Cyprus, and I met her during the time I was doing my Ph.D. at Memorial Sloan Kettering. She's a director of clinical research development. We have people that have expertise in AI, and we are an AI-based technology company. And we have veterans such as Naveen Zarifa, who's a serial entrepreneur herself, but also has worked for big pharmaceutical companies and knows the drug development process very well. We also collaborate with NYU. Aris Trigos is our chief scientific officer, and he informs our data science team and engineering team on performing and evolving our algorithms. So what is it that we do exactly? So the company is built in such a way that we have a series of scientific associates, and I'll show you a little bit how the company is structured. But the data are collected daily from public data sources such as the clinicaltrials.gov website, PubMed, announcements from companies related to drugs and their performance, abstracts from conferences, and all that data is ingested in our proprietary tool that we have built that allows us to harmonize all that data from these disparate resources. We have over the last 4 or 5 years that the company is running, we have collected over 1.5 billion data points. You know, the better and the more the data, the stronger the conclusions. So this is something we're building constantly. And a rule that we had during my PhD was also high quality. I'm sure you've heard the saying that says, you know, shit in, shit out. So the first step of having good results in the lab is having, you know, good data at the beginning and use good resources, whether that's your favorite cell line or, you know, robust mouse models and so on. And so we're a big proponent of that in Intelligencia. So we use high quality data, and we make sure we maintain that by several QC processes throughout the time that we capture it. We have a trained scientific associates team that not only captures that data in that high quality, but again ensures by multiple layers of QCing and ensuring this high quality. And also we share this data. I want to say that what's important is that we utilize this data not only for our purposes and the platform that we have developed that I'm going to show you, but also we exchange data with academic institutions and pharmaceutical companies that utilize this. So what we do again is that we have developed a platform. This is a platform that allows our users to assess the probability of technical and regulatory success of clinical stage assets. We have a proprietary, platform that we use over 200 features to inform the probability of success of clinical stage assets that have to do with the biology, clinical trial outcomes, clinical trial design, and regulatory data. And we use this high quality data to build algorithms to predict this probability of technical and regulatory success, as well as the phase transition that these assets have. So as you know very well, clinical stage assets undergo this sequential process of going from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. So not only we tell an asset whether an asset would be transitioning to getting an approval, but whether it has a high chance of moving from one clinical stage development to the next one. And to do that, we are a multi-discipline team. We have a lot of biologists, like a lot of you are here today, with experts in immunology, in oncology, different areas of oncology, whether they have master's degrees or PhD degrees. They're experts in their field, so they understand the data very well, and that is really important for the proper digestion of the data and importing it into the platform that we have built. And we have engineers that build the platform and maintain it. We have data scientists that build the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. And we have a lot of other supportive roles of people that we finally made it to 100 people last month. So we are a startup, so reaching that 100 people milestone was important for us, and we did it just last month. So the algorithms that we build are actually pretty good, and how we can tell that. We have a high specificity and sensitivity in actually predicting which trials are going to lead to approval. And we have a very high area under the curve, which is a measurement of how good we are at predicting which ones are going to do well and which ones are not going to do well. And I should also point out that we, as a company, we have some principles around how we want to function, and we do like to publish peer-reviewed papers about our methodologies. We want our technology to be out there for other scientists and collaborators to be able to assess whether we're on the right track. So we publish peer-reviewed papers. As I said, we are a cross-functional team with our advisory board to ensure the good quality of the work that we're trying to achieve. We have a strategic partnership with the ZS Consultancy Group, where it brings us to people and companies that need our technology to advance their clinical stage assets. We have just finished our Series A funding. we are good with our cash flow, meaning that the company is able to run for at least 24 months now. And we have been selected by the Forbes magazine to be one of the top 50 companies in the artificial intelligence space. So what is it that we do exactly? I mentioned previously that we're in the business of calculating the probability of technical and regulatory success. And what does that mean? As I mentioned, the journey of a drug going from preclinical stage to actually getting into the market is a long one. And so it involves a lot of risks. And by gathering all of this historical data that we have access to, we're able to train our algorithms, and we're able to predict whether ongoing programs that are currently in clinical development will or will not get to the market. In addition to that, we also have developed tools around Bayesian statistics that allows us to do clinical trial design simulations. And what that means, it means that a company, your favorite pharmaceutical company that has an oncology asset, let's say, is thinking of proceeding from a phase 2 to a phase 3 trial, and they want to know what will increase their chances of getting the drug into the market. And so we're able to do simulations for them, making assumptions, such as increasing the number of enrolled patients, including biomarkers, and so on, to help them predict whether that will make more sense for them by adjusting their clinical trial design. In addition to that, because we collect all this historical data, what we allow our users is to have access to clinical benchmarks. And what does that mean? It means that if I am interested in developing a drug in acute myeloid leukemia, I want to know what is the baseline. Like historically, what has been the chance of a drug of succeeding and getting FDA approval if, let's say, it has a biomarker. So let's say I'm looking at IDH mutations, and I'm looking to apply this drug in second-line AML patients. So because we collect all this historical data for the past 20 years or so, we're able to tell them what has been the historical approval rate, and so they can build their own models internally based on those. So we have built this data-driven decision-making machinery, and this is where we find ourselves to be at the moment. We are being embedded in current workflows of big pharmaceutical and biotech companies by streamlining processes related to assessing the clinical risk that an asset has by taking it into the market. And so how we work, as I said, the first step is the clinical data. And the clinical data is being curated manually by scientific experts. But not only that, we have developed tools that automatically inform our databases by looking at approvals, failures, regulatory approvals, whether that's breakthrough designations, orphan drug diseases that get, priority review with the FDA and so on. So the first step is this high expertise in biological understanding of how drugs work, ingesting the data in such a way that is then harmonized in our proprietary platform, which I'm showing you here. So we have developed this tool that, again, we collect over 200 features related to a clinical program, starting from the title, of course, as you can see here, the type of masking and so on. But we build a trial in a way that we capture the arms and the cohorts associated with that. So the arms, let's say, would be the placebo arm and the key drug, and then cohorts, whether these interventions affect specific populations, let's say, PD-L1 high versus PD-L1 low patients, and then capture all the results related to the endpoints that the investigator has designed. Let's say, what has been the overall survival of these patients, the placebo compared to the key drug, what have been adverse events related to the treatment, and so on. So we capture all that information. And we're doing that, but again, building specific ontologies related to the indications, so the types of diseases, the modalities around the drug. So if it's a monoclonal antibody or a small molecule, if it's an inhibitor, what's the protein class, what's the gene target. So we have all that information. We have built internal tools related to the drugs that we capture, as well as related to the outcomes, again, overall response rates, overall survival, the endpoints related to the treatment, and again, any regulatory pathways that are important for the success of the drug of getting to the market. So if a drug has already been reviewed by the FDA and has, let's say, a priority review, that for us is a really important indicator that this drug is more likely to make it into the market. So these are all information, again, that we capture from the public domain and we harmonize it in our database. So our data science team, basically what they do, and these are electrical engineers with a computer science background, mathematicians, statisticians, that they build the artificial intelligence tools that with the high quality data that I mentioned previously, then they can give us the estimations for the probability of technical and regulatory success that I mentioned previously. Our product team is in charge of building the product, which is the platform. This is what we, our customers most of the times come to us to have access to the platform. What one can do here is search by drug, indication, modality, target, phase, or the primary sponsor. Let's say if it's GlaxoSmithKline, Bristol-Myers Squibb, and so on. And what you can come here and see, it's a table that allows you to see what your drug does, in which phase of development it is, what's the primary sponsor, the target, and then you get these two machine-derived features that are around the phase transition probability and the probability of technical and regulatory success. Finally, we also have the customer success team that basically what we do is we work together with the teams of the big pharmaceutical companies that they are our customers, that most of the times are biostatisticians, R&D scientists. They could also be part of the business development team. And what we try to work with them internally, providing them the right data so that they can get the most of our platform and are able then to inform their internal methodology on how to proceed, whether that's buying a new asset, progressing with one that you have in clinical development, and so on. In addition to this, we have also built a tool that we call Breakthrough Science. This uses data from PubMed, as well as funding from the NIH and other resources, and we have built trends over time where one can find hotspot of innovations. And this is, again, a tool that our customers are using to identify collaborations, perhaps, of new targets, or identifying other industry-led assets that are being at the same stage of development as them, and trying to understand what's the competition. For instance, if we knew, right, that 10 years ago or 15 years ago that immunotherapy was going to be the next big breakthrough in oncology, have been really important to know that, right? And so what other targets are important for that? I did a quick search just to show you today as a screenshot. Like if you come and look for PD-1 and say what other targets go with PD-1, you can find some of them that are mentioned here. And you can look at the funding that is being given to proposals that have had that in their title, publications associated with that, the first year of activity, and then if you go into the deep dive here, you can find a lot of information again about the target, what it does, who is the first person that has the highest citations, the highest funding in that area, and so on. And lastly, I want to finish by saying that what we do here is we developed a data-driven, unbiased system for assessing clinical stage assets. Um, we allow our users to prioritize their assets in a specific pipeline. As you know, pharmaceutical companies, they might be developing hundreds of drugs at the same time, but it's really important to devote resources, which means people and money, at the ones that they're more likely to succeed. In addition to that, our users are able to appraise assets from competitors in an unbiased way, because big pharmaceutical companies, of course, they have tools internally to be able to assess what is their chance of getting a drug into the market, but they cannot do that in the same unbiased way with assets that they're competing to theirs. That is not only important for them to know where they sit in the competitive landscape, but also most of the times a lot of companies are interested in buying such assets that are competing to theirs. So with our platform and our expertise are able to see which are the ones that they're the runners in the race of getting their drug out there first, and prioritize instead of prioritizing their investments. The last thing I wanted to say is that basically what we want to do is allow our customers to utilize their resources in the most efficient and productive way in order to make this drug development process more efficient and get drugs to patients faster and without any delay. Lastly, I want to say that we're hiring. We're looking for motivated people that want to work in an environment that is interested in all the principles I said previously, whether that's biologists or data scientists or computational biologists. Please, you can talk to me later at the break if you're interested. And I want to thank you again for listening to me today and for the invitation. Yeah, so I think the most difficult part has been the harmonization, because resources tend to disclose data in very different ways. Also, I should say that the clinicaltrials.gov website, which is where all clinical trials are being published, has only very recently been developed in a way that the data have to be presented and have to be published by big companies. And of course, the algorithms and the development of those has been challenging, but we're learning as we go. And I showed you the area under the curve and how good we are at detecting, which ones were supposed to do well, and they did. And what we see is that we're also getting better. So we're learning along the way. Injuries from shootings in specific parts of the aircraft. And they were trying to build them in such a way to avoid those, but then someone said, but what about the ones that never come back? I think we should look at those that never come back, because this is where it's the weak spot of the airplane, right? If you hit that, then it never comes back. And that's true. Like the trials that we don't get to capture and we don't have sufficient information for are the ones that fail. And because there are no regulations at the moment, not even in the US, that one would think that because of the FDA and the strict regulations, we have such rules. Unfortunately, if a big company doesn't want to disclose the reason why a trial failed, then we don't have that information. So we are limited only to the data that we have.
But do you do something to control for that bias?
So what we try to do is even the limited information we do, we impute a lot of values for the data we don't have, and try to kind of cover that ground that we don't know about, and then based on those overall failed drugs and trials, to then build and inform our algorithms. Some companies are good at disclosing them, so we have those as well.
Another short question.
Yeah, so they come to us for various reasons. So we're not in the discovery space, so we cannot tell them if there is a biomarker to use it, like a novel one. But if they have one, that might be a weak one, but it's still a biomarker. We have ways with the Bayesian simulations that I said to tell them whether it will increase their chances of getting that drug into the market or not. As you know very well, biomarkers are predictive a lot of the time of response to therapy, so, but not all of them are. So we have ways and tools to put that in our methodology and allow our users to know. But big pharmaceutical companies come to us to ask questions like, you know, they have a very early phase asset and it's first time in human, and they don't know if it's going to do well, but the clinical trial design is being, you know, now being set. Will that increase their chances of getting that into the market or not, because they have the right endpoints or because they have the right patients? So that could be one way that we help.
So you are going to use radiograph in order to compare with other clinical trials?
Well, based on all the historical data that we have captured, the algorithm will determine whether they have a chance based on the design that they have set up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank